This is a little new. I guess I can say, welcome to the Hurley Investments Market View commentary for Monday, June 3rd of 2019. It is the start of a new month, and as usual, I sent out my market recap. And in my market recap, I actually had quite a few people that, well, that's not fair to say, but I had some people ask me a couple pretty common or interesting questions, as I'm going to put it. And I figured I better go through and answer those questions because it's probably what more than one person is thinking. So, Kevin, what are we going to do about the summer doldrums? And that's pretty easy to do because we're going to add some longer term short calls, dollar cost average, the leap or long calls, and add more shares where we can on stocks that have really fallen hard. Now, some of what we're worried about, I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to bring down, have a quick peek at our charts. Obviously, our charts have shown where we've been. The Dow, obviously, still bearish, but a couple indicators here give me hope, especially on a bit of a day like today. Just touching our oversold, just getting a doji, and we've been oversold enough on the Williams percent R. We're below 200-day and so forth, but it seems like we're ripe for testing of that 200-day one more time at 25,425. So that's what I would be expecting on the Dow in the near future. If we took a look at our S&P, not quite a doji, but we're just looking for an oversold bounce. And again, this won't be quite as pronounced. Probably heading back up to the 200-day at 27.75, which is only 31 points higher. But we show a technical area that we probably should have held. We tried to hold on to that 200, but now that we've broken it for 2 days, we are seeing a trend. And that trend is going to be, hey, are we going to go back and test the highs, or are we going to go down to probably the 2650 range, if not the 2615? But we are making a little bit of progress back to the upside. And then the NASDAQ just got crushed today. And the NASDAQ just hit its oversold. It's like orders kicked in that for sell orders being below the 200-day. But we just got just a nibble of biting of institutions. I would expect a bounce off of here as well. It makes the decision-making process a little bit harder on when or should we wait just a little bit longer to add those short calls. It might be more advantageous to at least wait a couple more days to see where we're at. Of course, some stocks have already had long puts in place, but some have been added here recently. So as I talk about this, a couple of you that have Boeing, we've added some long calls at the 335 range. Excuse me, some long puts at the 335 range. We added Bank of America. I was trying to see if we couldn't get a one-day bounce to the downside on it. I tried some weeklies, did not work out well. Pretty sure we lost 17 cents. But we do have some things in place. And those things are in place most likely for what I see coming up here in the near future. And I kind of see maybe a little bit of being range bound. And range bound to the low side of our, that's not, range bound under the moving averages. And that's really, just so you know, the 200-day simple moving average until earnings. Which means I don't think anything's going to get done at the G20. I think, kind of hard to believe, but I think Trump is going to have to give in. If he wants to see the elections run the way that he expects them to go, I think he's going to have to give in. Some people ask me, well, why to put some protection on today? Well, if you take a look at your calendar, you can see pretty easily that June 10th is coming up just around next Monday. And you really, for all intents and purposes, you can't not have protection on this news event with Trump threatening to do tariffs on the autos and on 5% on Mexico. That's one of the, how did I say it? That is one of the tariff wars that we won't win. For all the reasons why we're winning on China, they import more into us. We can charge them more. You know, it's 3-to-1 that they send, that we buy their crap versus them buying our crap. It's the reverse for Mexico. You know, they buy more of our stuff. They're one of our number one trading partners. They buy a ton of our stuff. And if they're going to slap on, you know, if we're going to slap tariffs on them, they slap them back on us. They've got a lot more to charge us by way of tariffs than we do of theirs. Let's face it, we're not a big importer of goods from Mexico. They do put some of our stuff together under cheap labor, but there's not a whole lot from Mexico that we import by way of product. Yet we sell a ton to them. Now, of course, I'm sure we do import, you know, some fruits and vegetables, some marijuana, some drugs, you know, the simple stuff. Some of it can be taxed, some of it can't, but we're just upside down. The whole idea that we'd start a trade war with Mexico, we don't have the same leverage or the same leg to stand on as we do with China. So I think we're range bound under the moving averages for maybe June. We do have the G20 at the end of June, but I just don't see that catalyst until we're looking into earnings again in July. I just don't see it. And obviously that earnings, if you go back to Alcoa, usually earnings almost starts a couple weeks before that. But if you take a look at the next earnings for Alcoa in general, who was up today, by the way, kind of interesting. Alcoa, 717, so it's about 710. Just after our 4th of July week, we might see some earnings start to come in that may start to move the markets. Another question was asked. I think it's a fair question. How do we make up some of the losses that we felt here recently? And again, pretty interesting. We make them up as things start to come back. It's pretty easy, though, to understand. And I tried to use the example. If we're making up 80% of the downside movement, if we're making up half of the downside movement, part of our benefit has been adding more shares. And when you add more shares, it also quickens the recovery pace. But more important, as things start to come back, we get to take our profits. We get to use or let some things run. And at that point in time, when those things are running, we catch up very quickly. And when most people are waiting for things to come all the way back, we then have a pretty significant profit because of what we made on the way down. So when things start to come back, plain and simple, at Hurley Investments, we make more quicker due to what we've made on the way down. And it's that simple. Now, you can create a negative delta. You can create negative delta, add all those short calls and long puts. But again, the upside bounce can be so violent and so quick that I'll be honest with you, I'm just not comfortable in creating a negative delta position at this time. With that said, where will our markets end this week? I'm probably going to tell you they're going to be down. I'm doing nothing more than following the trend, and it was good to see the markets fight it back. We did have a doji, but I still don't think we have enough catalyst to move ourselves higher. If you ask me where we're going to finish June, I'm saying 1%, but it would not surprise me to be down 3 or 4%. There are not any really big earnings this week. GameStop, Tiffany, and Salesforce on Tuesday, Five Below on Wednesday, Kirkland on Thursday. Really, this is a pretty uneventful economic reports week until we get to the ADP on Wednesday. ISM services might be important since the ISM manufacturing came in at the lowest in, I don't know. It was a ridiculous amount of years, but we missed by a couple points. In fact, I think I have that written down. What do I have written down? We're supposed to come in at 5.26, and what did we come in at? 5.1? Let's take a quick peek. We're supposed to come in at 5.26, and I'm pretty sure we came in at 5.1. Can't believe I didn't have it written down. Some of that happens when you're traveling in the car. 5.21. So, we missed by a half. We're still positive. Obviously, construction spending was flat, didn't help us out today, but it's not horrific, but our market treated it like it was horrific. Because it wasn't too bad, it was nice to see our markets come back. But just as a heads up, really, ADP employment, ISM services on Wednesday will be a big one. Average work week on the end of the week, just to see where we're at, will also be pretty big. Not a whole lot going on internationally. I'm pretty sure this was last week, so I can clear that off. Nothing that I saw. Any extending protection out, not even from earnings more now, out until most likely the next earnings. Interesting article on the man who lost $35 billion in 1 year. Some advice for Elon Musk. I put this one in here. I don't know if I agree with this after I saw how far Facebook's come down the last couple days, but I did agree with it last week. So if you want to know why we're interested in Facebook, very interesting read, very important to go through. I agree with all the metrics. I've got Visa in here, one more that came on Visa that I do like, and I understand why we're in Visa. And what else do I have? Auto sector, how to trade with returning Bank of America. And unfortunately, No reason why Bank of America couldn't be higher, but this gave some conclusions that maybe I hadn't thought about, that I need to take a closer look at Bank of America and see if I still see that upside potential or risk that maybe I haven't seen before. It's doing everything right, though. It's just doing everything right. And I struggle as I scratch my head. I just think, for freaking crying out loud, why can't this one move the way it's supposed to? All right, let's see where we're at next. Again, Keeve is taking over for trade findings. He's also watching accounts. I am available, but I will be in the Grand Tetons Wednesday and Thursday. I should be available talking with Keeve on Friday. Guys, you have a wonderful week. Enjoy the start of summer. And I look forward to being back to you most likely next Tuesday. It'll probably be Keeve that'll cover the market commentary for me next week on Monday. I'll talk with you then. Have a wonderful week. And again, know it's usually good to be protected so that you can make up something to the downside as things are falling. Rather unusual week or day, but we'll keep studying, we'll keep seeing probabilities, and we'll see what we need to do next. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Talk to you then.